Welcome back to Humble Running. Today I'm going to be testing out two new trainers for 2026. We've got the North Face Altamesa 500 V2 going up against the Salomon Ultra Glide 4. Little different format today though. I have some questions both on Instagram and on YouTube. I'm going to rip through a little bit of Q&A here. I think that will set the table for me going out on the run with one shoe on each foot here. Answer a few questions. Maybe that'll jog my mind on a few key points that I want to talk about throughout the course of the run. First, from Instagram, this one comes from Pat's Climb. These look awesome. V1 was good, but the foam compacted quickly and the lugs disappeared quickly too. Looks similar to the Merrell Adapt. First thing about the lugs, this is North Face new surface control rubber compound. Brand new. This is the first model they're using it in. They were going to be transitioning to this new compound going forward across their entire model lineup, but this is the first one, so you should see increased durability, increased grip and traction going forward with surface control rubber from the North Face. Another commenter, Log Holmes, mentioned, love the first one, got 500 miles and the foam never felt degraded. So completely opposite opinions on that one. I did not have version 1, so I cannot compare that as far as lug durability, outsole traction, any of that. Moving on to the Ultra Glide 4. This one comes from Hayden Killeen. Stoked these come in wide. I got a further comment. This is talking about the Ultra Glide 4. I do have a regular US 9.5 here, US 10 here, different sizing. I'll talk about that on the run, but Salomon does offer a wide model, which is pretty interesting in this Ultra Glide 4. Had some back and forth as to how they accomplish that wide. Do they widen out the platform? Do they just add more volume in the upper? And that's kind of been my experience with wide models in the past. I had tried different speed goat variations in regular and wide, and I noticed they seem to just give a little bit more in terms of the upper material itself, but they don't really widen out the actual shoe itself. I don't have the wide version, so I can't say for sure. Comment further down from Desert Rat 105. Just got mine in today. I haven't run in them, but I would say there are Salomon wide. They fit a little more snug than I would prefer around the metatarsal. We'll see what happens after a few miles. And he did confirm that he got the wide version, and he says, to be fair, I tend to gravitate towards wider fitting shoes. Salomon wide feels like most normal D-width shoes to me. I think that is the case. We're going to talk about this on the run, the width of these two shoes. I like the width of the Salomon shoe, but it is, I would say, Salomon wide. In the past, I've had trouble with Salomon shoes, and it's mainly been the taper. I find it okay at the forefoot for my, I would say, not high volume foot. It's been okay at the forefoot, but then at a certain point, they kind of either on the pinky side or sometimes on the big toe, I get a little rubbing in Salomon shoes. This one has been great so far for me at a US 9.5. I did not even size up in these. Happy with this sizing here, and I don't know again about the wide sizing. I would think if you, as this commenter posted, if you do have a wide foot, to be on the safe side, you probably just want to go with the wide to begin with, potentially size up. I think I could size up in this one, but talk about that in a moment on the run here. Moving down, more comments. I posted a picture of the ground platforms of both of these shoes here, and somebody commented maybe a good blow-up shoe for Cocodona, and I just assumed he was talking about this shoe, being that it is the massiver ground platform on the ground. And my response was, why wait for a blow-up? I mean, 250-mile race, why go with something lighter and then kind of have to deal with foot soreness or lack of cushion later in the race with a shoe like this? Why wait till you blow up? Maybe just start in this shoe if you had this one in mind, or something max stack from the start. A few more comments here. This one's coming from the North Face video that I put out. First version was my favorite road to trail shoe. Very impressed with the fit, comfort, and durability. If they can improve the grip, it looks like this will be fire for my needs. Yes, surface control grip will be improved. Next comment here. You mentioned that you usually size to US 10 for North Face shoes, and this shoe is wider than other North Face shoes. Are you better off going 9.5 here? Yes, I did a little comment reply there. This is probably the widest North Face shoe that I have. I do always run a 10 in North Face, and I find that They have a little taper up front. Also, with the Vective rocker, you get a little squeeze at the front of the toe box I've talked about before. But this one seems notably wider compared to those other models. The forefoot width is bigger, and it's pretty square, I would say, up here. So compared to, say, I've got the Enduris 4 here. Just put them side by side real quick. You can probably notice this one tapers a little bit more up here. So I feel definitely snugger in a 10 than this one. But I am happy with my US 10 here. Again, I'm looking at this shoe as, commenter mentioned Cocodona. I'm not doing Cocodona, but as a kind of super long distance option. I'm not taking this out for kind of like 1 hour runs. I am for testing, of course, but if I were to utilize this shoe to its potential, it would be for those super long distance runs and maybe slower runs where I want that ultra comfort both in stack and in the toe box. So I am actually happy with my US 10. North Face shoes always wrap the midfoot well. If I had any looseness in the midfoot, I would say I could definitely go down to US 9.5. I could probably go down to US 9.5 and be comfortable in this shoe itself, but I kind of like it at a 10. I do have a full thumbs width. I prefer that. But if you have a notably narrow foot, you like your shoes tighter, you could more easily go down or say keep your true to size in this shoe compared to say the Enduris 4, Sky 2, Infinite 3, any of those other North Face models. Moving down here, how does the upper compare to the Enduris 4? Altamesa V1 had a breathable single layer upper, where the Enduris 4 has a double layer upper with a booty-like layer under the mesh. I found it to be less breathable and holds water like the sponge. He's talking about the Enduris 4, and this is something I did check out. Both of these shoes have that booty mesh. It's not a booty upper, but it has an inner layer kind of booty inside there, and that extends throughout the toe box. Some shoes are like that. Some shoes have a kind of gusset, a long gusset. Some shoes have a liner that wraps all around the foot on the inside of the outer mesh, and that is the case with the Enduris 4 this commenter was talking about. It is the same with the Altamesa, but if you look in there, I feel like the mesh here, there's a lot of these kind of elements here attached to the lace eyelets, overlays, kind of structural elements built into the mesh itself. You do have that liner on the interior there, but I find it seems to be a lighter material. I was looking at these very closely. The mesh on the Enduris 4 is definitely that white part in there. I don't know if you can see that. It's definitely thicker here. And do a quick blow test. On the sides of this shoe with the upper, there's not much ventilation holes along the side. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here with the Altamesa 500, but the toe box is pretty wide open. So again, you have that liner on the inside, and it does wrap on the inside of this mesh layer here, but it is very breathable, especially here. You could kind of see where the open areas are in the mesh there, in the outer mesh. And that allows the air to easily go through that inner kind of booty layer within this. I would say compared to the Enduris 4, you still have that liner in there, but it seems to be more breathable than this one, especially right at the top of the foot here. The air goes in pretty easily there. Thanks for the great video. You recommended the Enduris 4 to me because I asked about a stable 100-mile race shoe. They work great, thanks. How does this compare in stability? In terms of stability, you can probably just take a look at the platforms here. You have a massively wide platform in this one, and I think that is going to be the key difference with these. Aside from the toe box that I mentioned, you have a lot of comfort in the front of the toe box here, and just this platform, it is wider and it feels wider on the run. Something I'm going to dig into when I have it side by side with the Ultra Glide 4 here. It's actually a lighter shoe than the Enduris 4, but I feel like this is a more agile shoe. This has a more of a rocker feel. The arch is kind of more up into your foot. The heel feels really locked in the Enduris 4, and even though it is slightly heavier than this one, with the platform not being as wide, it's kind of, as I put them side by side, they're somewhat close, but definitely the rear flares out a lot in the 500. It just feels like you have a lot of, you can see this overhang here in the 500. This shoe, even though it has that rocker, it's not a flexible shoe by any means. it feels more agile relative to this one. So I'm curious to see. Black Canyon is coming up in February. I'm curious to see if there's North Face pros that are going to race in this shoe, or they're going to stick with this one. Or maybe they have some kind of new Vective Pro that I haven't seen yet that they're going to be racing in. That will be something to keep an eye on over there. Next one here. Very interested. Could you compare with the Topo Vista? The half size down in Vista worked well for me. I was blown away by the lockdown and stability for such a maximalist shoe. Got a Vista shoe here. Both of these I have in a 10. The toe box of the Vista is even wider than this one, but this one is approaching Vista level toe box, but I think this one definitely stays wider, like this kind of area from here to here in the Vista. Topo signature, of course, natural toe box. It feels more volume, bigger in the toe box here, but I would say equal amounts of midfoot lockdown. So if you're happy with your Vista sizing, I feel like this 10 is bigger than this 10. Lengthwise, they're probably about the same, but I just notice a lot more kind of vertical volume in this toe box, and also that width up front plays a bigger factor. I'm pretty happy running creepers and Gingy, even thicker socks in this one, whereas this one, it feels just right in a medium width sock because it has a more kind of normal toe box, although, as I said, a bit wider up front here. So I would say size equally. You can go down a half size here if you're comfortable with this in a US 9.5. As long as you're not super squeezed in that 9.5, you'll probably be equally comfortable in the same size in this one, 9.5. So I have both shoes. Again, this one feels a little bigger to me, but the platforms on the ground are kind of similar. This one is notably a flexible shoe, very flexible. This one doesn't have a plate, but it does have an element of stiffness to it without the plate, where it doesn't just feel as loose on the ground as the Vista, as adaptable as the Vista. One more. Curious about your thoughts versus the Merrell Adapt in terms of fit and ride. This is a curious comparison here. Again, we're talking about the North Face shoe in all these comments so far. Similar in ride. Both of these shoes, check out some of my videos on this one. Very full in stack and feel from the heel pretty much to the front of the forefoot. Same thing with the Adapt. And then you have that toe rocker. You're really working with a front forward, I'm not sure if I'm saying that. Right at the front of the toe box is where you feel that shoe really turn over. It doesn't start as early as, say, this one, for example. You have a more smoother roll that starts a little bit earlier. Here, it really kind of turns over at the toes. So quite similar here. Difference being platforms again. This flares out. It's kind of stable, but it is a narrower platform on the ground. This just has, it's tough to match up any shoe in terms of ground platform with the Altamesa 500 here. And you know, if you're into that or not, that's up to you. If you like to have the stack, these shoes are stacked similarly within a millimeter or two of each other. This one just has a narrower feel. It feels taller on the run, but at the same time a little bit more agile. This feels tall, but the width gives it a little more of a kind of cushiony, more stable feel, I would say, just because it is so wide. This one I feel like I could move my feet around a little bit more. I feel a little bit more comfortable. This one just feels, you gotta watch out for these overhangs. Moving on to Ultra Glide comments now. Cannot be excited for this one. The Altamesa V2 and Kip Summit Max are lighter, cheaper with TPU foams. V3 durability was awful for me as well, comparing this one with the shoe I'm talking about, and also the Kip Summit Max. This is nitrogen infused TPU. This is ATPU. So these are quite different foams here. I thought about doing a three-way comparison, but just be too much today. Maybe I'll throw this in the mix later on. A little bit different shoes here. I think these two are closer, but it is going to be interesting because this one is so much softer and it has that same super wide platform. I think there's going to be more clear difference when I get out on the run today with this Ultra Glide 4 shoe. I don't think they're necessarily equally compatible here. I would say the foam, Optim foam here, EVA olefin blend, it's the most kind of normal foam here, the most stable foam, the least bouncy, I would say, of the three here. And that could be a good thing if you don't want that bounciness on the run. You want a little bit more ground feel. I'll talk about it on the run. Let's see. Nice. Really excited to get this one on foot. Looking to use this as a training shoe for an upcoming 50 miler and potentially use the S-Lab Ultra Glide or Genesis model for the race. Great comparisons. I'm curious how long the tread will hold up. Keep us updated. That is probably the primary concern with this shoe. I have noticed some abrasion on the outsole here. I don't have a ton of miles, and I even ran this on the treadmill one time just to feel them out. Very short run, and I noticed a lot of the rubber wearing off. That can happen with trail shoes on treadmills with the textured surface, but it seemed to be more than usual, and I do see that here. So I don't necessarily think this is going to be, in terms of durability, potentially like a 500-mile shoe or something. It looks to me like it's going to be the 300-mile type of shoe in terms of long-lasting durability. I'm going to talk about stack differences on the run between these two shoes though, so don't tune out just yet. My main issue with the non-S-Lab models is the padding upper in the wet. It absorbs water like a sponge, adding the fit and weight. No issues in the dry. That is a difference. You do have this softer padding along the interior. Like I said in my first run video, it's kind of just like regular padding. It works really well. Holds the foot much better for me than this version. But I don't know. This has kind of at least this S-Lab upper here. This is a non-matrix upper. Version 2 is coming with a matrix upper, so that could be a completely different story. But I don't think it's going to be much worse in this shoe compared to this. This is a version 1 that I have here. This one has some material in here that is going to hold some water too. Matrix version will be another story though. New subscriber here, really enjoy your content. I'm a recreational runner, hiker, puts in about 30 miles. Okay, I have the Ultra Glide 1 and 2 and the Altamesa 500 V1. The Ultra Glides fit great, very stable, good feel, but were a bit firm. The Altamesa 500 had great cushion, but I found myself pronating in them. Not to spoil any upcoming comparison tests, but would you recommend either of these latest versions of the Ultra Glide or Altamesa 500 for my situation? Pronation here, I did respond to this comment here. I talked about in my Ultra Glide video, these are the two spheres that I noticed the most in terms of what do these relief spheres really do. I noticed that those parts right here seem to compress, and that is on the medial side. So as you're running, it does seem like kind of collapses in over here, not in the arch area. So in terms of pronation, feeling unstable on the arch, heel, like your entire shoe folding over, it doesn't feel like that at all. I just feel that at the front here in terms of you have these depressions throughout the shoe, like what do you really feel on the run? I feel these two up here, and I feel like that gives me some ground feel. I actually quite like it. This shoe feels more flexible up front compared to the Altamesa. Talk about it on the run again. More ground feel in this one. But in terms of pronation, let's take a look at this. You have a huge overhang. I don't know. Version 1 looks similar. Again, I haven't run in it. I haven't even had it in hand, so I can't say for sure. I don't know how different it is to this version 2, but to me, looking at the inside here, you've got a lot over here underfoot. And even when I have the shoe, I have my right shoe on here, I don't feel this letting my foot pronate at all along the inside. Definitely more so than this one. Like I said, this one has those depressions there. It seems to go in and your foot goes in this direction. This one seems to hold the foot up and you kind of roll off straighter. So I would say in that regard, if that was a real issue, this would probably be the better pick. Last comment here, how do you size these compared to S-Lab or regular Genesis? Compared to S-Lab and regular Genesis, I have a 9.5 here. I have a 9.5 in S-Lab Genesis. S-Lab Genesis feels wider to me. The front of the toe box, that's just, they designed that as a wider toe box fit. This feels more streamlined. So I do have an equal sizing, but S-Lab Genesis version 1, version 2 is coming out soonish, I think, or maybe in the fall. But that one's definitely wider. It fits similarly to the regular Genesis to my mind, but it has less of a taper here, and it seems more vertical space around the pinky side. I had problems with the regular Genesis, something I talked about in my Kip Summit race video. It was a little shallow over the top, and it seemed to angle in more on the pinky side with the regular Genesis. So I got pinky side kind of squeezing in the same US 9.5 that I don't get in this shoe. That's what makes this shoe feel really good for me as a training shoe. I like the snug and secure fit in a US 9.5, and I don't get that pinky stuff, which was an issue in that regular Genesis, and also the Aeroglide 3 gravel for that matter. So fit is, again, Salomon slim here, but comfortable for me having not a high volume foot. All right, that's a wrap on the question and answer portion. I hope you didn't skip through that. I'm gonna get in here, close the door, warm up, gear up, and get out on the run.